guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you stopped by today because today I've got another oil painting time-lapse that I wanted to show you. Now the subject matter of this painting is actually a design that I originally did with an art doll. So this was an art doll and I wanted to paint it, so I kind of just cleaned up the design a little bit more, tried to make it look a little bit more realistic, and I had a lot of fun with it. But anyways, let's get started on the painting. So because of the way I wanted to shape my mushroom dragon in this painting, I decided to go with a square canvas. I normally don't use these too often, but every now and again they work really well for when you want something to be more rounded or just more evenly placed. Now one thing you might notice while I'm painting the background is the black paint is going on very thick, and that's because I'm actually not using oils. I decided to go over the background at least once with acrylic, that way I wouldn't have to do so many layers of black oil paint. It just saved me a whole lot of work. Last time I did a background this dark, I ended up having to do like 5 layers of just black paint, and I figured it would be just so much easier to just go over black acrylic with black oils once it's completely dried. Now, like I said, the mushroom dragon originally was an art doll that I designed probably roughly a year ago. I really liked the design and the glowing aspect of the mushrooms. The original doll actually had glow-in-the-dark mushrooms, and I just really wanted to try and paint this creature. I just kind of fell in love with the design. It was just kind of whimsical, and the gecko aspect of it I thought would look really cute clung to a wall. Now I definitely changed up the design that I originally had for the mushroom dragon. I made it look a lot more gecko-y this way. I changed the colors of the eyes. I just didn't like how that looked. I originally tried to paint it that color, like the lighter kind of ghosty color, but in the end you'll find out later that I actually decided to go with a darker purple. It just worked a lot better with the rest of the body, mainly because with the colors for the body I decided to go a lot brighter and more closer to a purple than a pink. The original one was a lot more pink. Now one thing that I think I would have really enjoyed doing with this painting was actually making reference shots with the original art doll. Unfortunately, this one has already sold a while ago, so I couldn't take photos the way that I wanted to. That way I could use them as reference photos. I think next time around I have an art doll that I really like and want to do paintings of, I'm going to take some reference shots that I want to turn into paintings. I think it'd be very interesting to try and do that, mainly because I've been painting a lot of still life work, just kind of studying things here and there, and I found that I get a lot more detail out of having a better reference. And if I'm using a reference for something as strange as a fantasy creature, I might get better results because of that. Also, I think it's kind of cool, the idea of actually using a reference photo for something fantasy-like. I don't think you get a chance to do that very often, and I really want to try it out next time I decide to paint one of my creatures. Lately, I've just been really into trying to make my art a little bit better. I've been really wanting to dive more into my oil paints. I don't get the chance to do that very often, so I've been scheduling time at night and just kind of trying to do more pieces that are not as important. I've been trying to do a lot of just practice pieces, that way I don't put so much on it, because usually when I paint, because I don't paint very often, I put a lot of pressure on that one painting to be just something really special, and that's not a way of practicing. So I've just been trying to practice a little bit more, loosen up, and just paint random things that aren't as important. That way I'm not so stressed out when I'm trying to do a painting, because I really do love painting, but the idea of practicing something while painting something very important just doesn't work. So I've just been trying to loosen up a little bit and just enjoy it a little bit more. I've also been trying to do that with my paint strokes, just trying to be a bit more painty with it, not so perfectionist about how straight the lines are, and I found that I just enjoy the look of my art a lot more when I try to actually show off the brush strokes a little bit better and just not care, well, not really care, but not be so picky about the lines and stuff, because that's one thing that I can be very picky about, is just how straight and perfect those lines are. And sometimes you don't need a straight or perfect line to get your point across with a painting. Sometimes it works better and it looks just a little bit more realistic to not have a straight line. I've also been wanting to try a lot more new materials, which has been kind of hard because just things have been a little tight here and there, but I did finally pick up Galkyd Gel. I hear so many other oil painters using this and loving it, and I definitely know why. I absolutely just fell in love with it, and I don't think I'm ever going to use anything like Liquin or linseed oil again unless I run out of this, because it just works so much better. It doesn't change the color of the paint. It's so smooth. It has the same consistency as oil paint, just a little bit kind of thinned out. It doesn't feel watery like if I was using linseed oil. And if any of you guys don't use any types of mediums with your oil paint like I do, and I usually don't, but I found out I just love this, and it's best for more final details, so you won't really see me use it until I start working on like the scaling and different stuff for the dragon. But if you want to try a medium, I'd recommend this. It's super easy, comes in a tube just like oil paint, and yeah, I'll have to leave a link down below so you guys could check it out. It's not too much either. But yeah, I normally don't use mediums with my paints. I tend to just go straight in with the oil paints and really not bother with using paint thinner or mineral spirits or anything like that. I just don't care for using those. And like I said, I usually would just use either Liquin or linseed oil if I wanted to glaze anything. But this Galkyd Gel is going to basically replace that for now on. Also, I have a thing of linseed oil, and if anyone has ever worked with something like that, the containers have these like child-proof locks on them, which don't work when you have something like Liquin drying around the edge of the bottle. It's just a nightmare to get open, and if any of you have issues with your hands hurting like I do, you just kind of give up the idea of using it sometimes because you just can't get the bottle open. And that's just another good seller for the Galkyd Gel, because it's in a tube and it's just so much easier to open. Okay, let's stop trying to sell you guys something. Sorry, I just got really excited about this because I've been wanting to try it for so long, and it actually works really good. But anyways, let's start talking a little bit more about my mushroom dragon, because I tend to not really create backstories too much for my creatures. I don't really know why. I love the idea of doing it. I just feel like I'm not really good at it. So I kind of wanted to go over like my idea of why the mushroom dragon has mushrooms. So I really didn't want to have my mushroom dragon eat like a normal creature. I didn't want him to go after insects or plants or anything like that. I kind of like the idea of him consuming mushrooms, not to eat them, but to kind of harvest the spores so that they can start growing out from his back. And then he gathers his energy through those mushrooms, almost like little solar panels. I just thought that would be a very unique, kind of interesting way to get your nourishment instead of having to eat something to just feed yourself, but you eat something to develop another way of feeding yourself. It's something I was kind of thinking about. I need to work on it a little bit more, kind of design a little bit more of a backstory, but that was just kind of why I decided he had mushrooms. It was just a way of him eating. And then of course his body is heavily based off of a gecko, mainly because I figured a gecko would have a lot easier time getting access to mushrooms, growing in tiny little cracks inside caves, different things like that. So I figured this would be a good body design for a creature that needed to access mushrooms and go into caves, and just make it easier for him to get around and hide and sneak around and just kind of vanish really quickly up a wall. And that's why I decided to kind of show that off more in the painting, that he can be clung to a wall, because with the art doll you really didn't get to see that too much. And then of course, since his mushrooms glow in the dark, that does help him explore and get around caves a lot more easily. They can also kind of be a way of finding a mate for the species. The mushroom size could be important, or maybe the color or how bright they are could be very important. Males could have larger mushrooms or a different type of mushrooms, and females could have another type of mushroom or smaller mushrooms. Just something to think about, like how would a creature that grows mushrooms benefit from them? But I don't know, I've just been thinking about that. I really want to kind of create more backstories with my pieces, if it's a painting or if it's an art doll. I want to give more of a story with it, not just make something pretty. I like the idea of giving something a little bit more life and maybe developing more on it. So if there's an art doll that I've made that you guys want to see me try and paint, let me know, because I would love to do that. I know the moon dragon, I have had that kind of sketched out, half painted for a while, and that will be a painting. I just kind of wanted to do this one because it was smaller and just felt a little less intimidating than the larger piece that I have waiting for me. But yeah, if there are other art dolls that I've made, different designs that you think would be really cool as a painting, let me know. Another one I could do is the X-Wing dragon I did quite a while ago. That one's more of a newer piece, but that would be very interesting to paint. I think that one would be probably a bigger piece because of how detailed it is though. Unless I decide to make babies, that could be really cute. Okay guys, and that is my painting of the mushroom dragon that I made. I had a lot of fun with this painting. It took me quite a while to do, mainly because I really didn't have good references for it, so getting the shading and stuff was a little tricky with the glowing effect, but I had a lot of fun with it. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!